reached a boiling point, and tonight Republican candidates, or at least their campaigns, are going to meet to air their grievances and potentially plot an overthrow. With me now, a Republican strategist, Ben Ginsberg, who will facilitate at that meeting. Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, Republican of Tennessee, Keith Ellison, Democrat of Minnesota, and Neera Tanden, president of the Center for American Progress. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, especially morning after Halloween. Ben, I got to start with you. Later today, you're going to be in this super secret place, and you're going to be talking to all the campaigns and trying to help them figure out how to deal with the fact that they're upset about the debates. What are you going to tell them?
Well, I'm going to tell them you need to figure out what to do. There have been problems with the first 3 debates, and to see what the campaigns want to do. But it's their meeting and their agenda and their debates.
And for people who don't understand, because it's a little bit kind of inside baseball, but it's really boiled over. Historically, at least the past couple of election cycles, the campaigns have all kind of come together and helped organize who gets the debates. This year, the Republican National Committee took over.
Yes.
So are you going to recommend that the candidates take it back?
Well, will not be in the position of making recommendations, but rather listening to the campaigns. But I was lucky enough to be able to negotiate for 3 of the 4 last cycles. And there are some lessons to be learned from those and procedures to take, which I'll talk to them. Well, as you mentioned, in past cycles, it was the campaigns themselves who talked to the sponsors. It's an institutional matter. If you issue a schedule beforehand and promise debates to news media organizations, you've lost some leverage. So that loss of leverage is something that the campaigns want to talk about, we'll talk about.
And Congresswoman, the other Republican here, you heard Senator Cruz say that, well, only Republicans should moderate Republican debates. I mean, just on its face, so every reporter is supposed to show their voter registration? I mean, I think most reporters are not affiliated with a political campaign or a campaign.
Well, I found it so interesting. I think Reince was correct in sending the letter to NBC. That debate was over the top. But there again, you look at it, Dana, and people just want answers to questions. They want to see how these candidates react with one another. They want to see how they respond under pressure. I think that they just need to realize the media is not going to be with them. They need to go over the top, talk directly to the American people, reconstruct their answers, and just kind of get over it. Move on.
You're shaking your head.
The media is not with anybody. The fact is, the media is neutral. The media is neutral. And I believe that it's a conservative tactic to accuse the media of being liberal in hopes that they will overcompensate and be conservative.
Oh, they've
Hold on. Can I just say that you are a supporter of Hillary Clinton? I'm guessing Hillary Clinton would not say that the media are conservative the way that she is.
I mean, Hillary has been attacked by a lot of media over the years. So, you know, I just think it's interesting that people want to be leaders of the free world, say they can take on Putin, say they can take on these various bullies around the world, and then are really concerned about the political affiliations of the debate topic questioners. Like,
I want to move on to the actual contest and not talk about the media for the whole time. It's been a really tough week for Jeb Bush. Marco Rubio, I think even he admits now, got the better of him in the debate this past week. On Friday, we learned that a very prominent billionaire who can raise a lot of money went and backed Marco Rubio. I spoke with Bush right after the CNBC debate. Here's what he said. A friend of mine, Anna Navarro, just said on our air that she's feeling glum tonight because of the performance that you had and the performance that Marco.
How do
you win them back?
I'm running for president of the United States. I'm running with heart. I'm not a performer. If they're looking for an entertainer-in-chief, I'm probably not the guy.
Ben, I'm going to throw it to you. Is Jeb Bush toast?
No, he's not toast. But an essential part of the debates, to be able to get to your substantive policies, is to be able to master the performance arts of the debates. So Governor Bush needs to do that. Aside from that, there's another debate on November 10th. Or at least one scheduled, and he'll have a chance to do it again. So we ought not get too wrapped up in precisely what happens here.
But beyond the debate, just in terms of the campaign, look, he was supposed to be the front runner. He was supposed to have the money. He was supposed to be the juggernaut, and he's not.
You always want to exceed expectations in Iowa and New Hampshire. They've done a terrific job of setting the expectations game where they can do that.
Bush has a content problem. He has a content problem. He's not talking about anything that animates the American people. He's failed on immigration reform. He's backed off on so many critical things. He's not a problem solver, and it's showing, and he's losing.
Well, people have natural constituencies and issues that they are known for. And Bush has a problem in addition to kind of being the guy in the middle on all of that. It is about timing. He is an establishment Republican. This is an outsider year. The nominee is going to be an outsider. It is not going to be establishment. I don't think Marco is considered an establishment sort of guy. I think he's come here and he's fought through the Senate. Ted Cruz has fought through the Senate. Carson and Trump are outsiders.
Republican who came in 2010.
Well, he came in on the Tea Party wave, but I think that was...
They're big idea guys, and that's what the American people want.
He was appealing to that right-wing base. I think he's not a mainstream Republican at all.
Nira, I just want to say that I have heard from a lot of Democrats privately who say that they are most concerned about Marco Rubio in a head-to-head with Hillary Clinton for lots of reasons, but mostly just the generational. It's Barack Obama all over again.
I think that could really play both ways. I think immigration is a great issue, and in a moment where people are yearning for authentic candidates who really say what they believe, this is a challenge for Marco Rubio. He had a position where he was a leader on immigration reform, working across the aisle, thinking it was going to help him probably win an election. But then the Republican base moved very far right, and he took the 180-degree position from where he was. So I think that's a real challenge for him. And I think Republican voters may be concerned about that level of inauthenticity at a time when
I think he's very authentic.
Mrs. Clinton has taken her detour from where she was.
People like authenticity.
Yeah, Marco Rubio, no, he is not a flip-flopper. What he has said is he realizes you have to do this incrementally, and you have to work through one issue at a time.
Do you think he can get the nomination with his immigration
I think that Marco Rubio could get the nomination just as it could be Trump or Carson or Cruz.
Despite his position on immigration.
Because he has said, look, you need to do this in a thoughtful way, and you need to come. He's where the House has been for 10 years.
He might
secure the border.
I'm going to ask you guys
through these issues.
I'm going to ask you guys to hold your thoughts because we actually have a lot more to talk about on the Democratic side.
All right.
And we are going to talk about that with regard to Hillary Clinton. She was interrupted on stage by protesters from Black Lives Matter. What did she say to them? The answer is next. Welcome back. That was Hillary Clinton disrupted by a group of protesters from Black Lives Matter. Joining me now again is our panel, and I want to start with you, Congressman. You know, the Black Lives Matter movement has gained such potency in the Democratic primary process. Their conversations with Bernie Sanders really do seem, the guy that you've endorsed, really do seem to have made a difference in his policies. What do you think about their tactics like this, doing what they did?
You know, when some white pastors wrote Martin Luther King when he was in the Birmingham jail and said, we like your goals, but we don't like your tactics, he wrote back to them a document that's known as the Letter from Birmingham Jail, in which he said to them, you know, of course you don't like my tactics. Of course it would be nice if this was so pristine and all comfortable, but change happens in a disruptive way. You know, I talked to these young people last night on the telephone. One of them is from Minneapolis. Her name is Sharanti.
And young people who were at
these very young
Hillary
people,
Clinton event?
yes, absolutely. And they told me they're not against Hillary, and they're certainly not against Bernie Sanders, but they expect that these folks are going to listen to them. But it's hard to break into the conversation, and it's hard to get beyond platitudes. And they want a plan. They want meaningful change. When they saw that young woman get flipped in that chair, when they saw Sandra Bland get yanked out of the car, they feel that. I feel that. And I'm telling you that people, it's an urgent moment, and they just don't feel that they can afford to just play by the traditional nicey-nice rules. They've got to be heard.
And I mean, and they are making a difference with their tactics. They are being heard.
I think the conversation needs to be all lives matter, whether it's black lives or blue
I think
lives
you don't understand.
or infant lives, or
This
look at what happened with CMS putting out the Medicare rule on Friday afternoon, that they couldn't get it in the bill in 2009, and now they're going to pay physicians for counseling elderly on end of life.
When you say all lives matter, you are ignoring centuries of institutionalized American racism. You cannot ignore the fact that in your own state, I mean, there was segregation, there was racism, there was slavery. Of course they do. The Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement is saying Black Lives Matter also.
Yes,
Black Lives Matter too.
It is literally, I mean, I think the problem with this is it's like going to a breast cancer rally and saying all cancers matter. It's like you're ignoring the reality that African Americans are disproportionately, a lot of people are affected by the police, but African Americans have been disproportionately affected by police brutality, and we have to address that problem. It is not.
Do you think that Hillary Clinton is, and really all of the Democratic candidates, are getting it now?
Yes, and absolutely. Hillary rolled out some policies. She'll be continuing to do that. And truthfully, what I find distressing is that this is an issue just for Democrats. Both Democrats and Republicans should talk about this. If you want to lead the whole country, you have to talk to the whole country.
What do you think about that?
And I hope that we will have less polarizing debate in the Republican Party about these issues.
Should the black vote just be left to Democrats, or should Republicans?
Well, I think Marcia's right. I think this is about all lives matter. In the context of all lives matter, Black Lives Matter too, and so the Republican candidates will end up discussing that in the context of the debate. If it becomes highly politicized, in other words, this is a Democratic movement to beat up on Republicans, then the effectiveness and the change that you want is going to fade away, and it will.
But right now they're beating up on Democrats.
Right now they're not going to Republicans. I think they should go to all presidential candidates. But I'm actually fine. I think it's important that people protest, raise these issues, the level of consciousness. There are now Republicans of goodwill who are talking about criminal justice reform. That is a great thing. The Koch brothers are now recognizing they're far beyond apparently where you are.
Then we got to go to
I think
crime is a problem. Crime is a problem, yes. But when you look at all lives matter, we need to talk about how we protect life and recognize the sanctity of life in this country.
We're going to have to end it there. Fascinating discussion to all of you. Thank you so much for coming in. And after the break, was the 2000 presidential election rigged? Candid new interviews 15 years later with the insiders who led the Florida recount.